Hi, gorgeous. Today we are talking about 3 simple steps that are going to help you stop smoking weed. This is for you if you need a little something that's going to make it click for you to stop smoking weed. Maybe you've been trying to stop for a while, but you can't bring yourself to because technically you cannot be addicted to weed. Whatever people say, I am 2.5 or more, almost 3 years sober from weed. And I smoked weed consistently for over 5 years. And I was a heavy smoker. I was a pothead. So I quit smoking weed, and whatever way it's taking your freedom away, your power away, your time away, I'm gonna help you get it back, and you'll be able to live a successful, more fulfilling, and happy life while being sober from weed. Not just weed happy, but really happy. My name is Kira. I am a food and wellness leader. If you're new here, go ahead and subscribe. Everybody like. And I have a surprise for you that I'll reveal at some point in the video, maybe at the end, I don't know. Let's talk about the first simple step, because these are really simple steps. Number 1, you need to take a tea break. This is a term you should know if you're a pothead. A tea break is a tolerance break. What this means is stopping smoking weed. Duh, right? You're gonna go cold turkey for whatever amount of time. And this helps to bring your tolerance down. Because if you don't know, the more that you smoke weed, the more you build a tolerance for it, which means that you're going to need more weed to get more high, or more concentrated types of weed to get high. And when you smoke for a while, you don't have that same feeling as when you first started smoking or using weed, where it's like really a crazy experience. It just starts to become more of a habit and more of a feeling kind of good, stress relief type of thing. So you're gonna take a tea break. However long that looks like for you, decide a time and say, okay, I'm gonna stop smoking for a week. I'm gonna stop smoking for a day. I'm gonna stop smoking for 5 months. Whatever your tea break is, it's going to help bring your tolerance down. Now, the next time that you smoke, your tolerance is gonna be down. So you're gonna smoke and you're gonna get really high. This is already reducing the amount of weed that you are going to be consuming, which is the perfect first step to get you off the weed, period. Now, the good thing about this first step is that if you take a tea break and you stop smoking weed, this can be your one and only step to stop smoking weed. If you have that strength, take a tea break and decide, actually, I'm not gonna smoke again. Now, if that's not you, we're gonna move on to our second step. But really, the point of this step is to lower how much weed it takes for you to get high so that you are on the right track to stopping. Now, step 2, once you take a tolerance break and you're using less weed to get high, start smoking only 1 time a day. You likely need to be sober for most of the day anyways, depending on your lifestyle, because you need to get work done. You need to be focused. Maybe you're driving and you're traveling. You need to be in a sound mind, which means that smoking once a day is going to be perfect for you. Whether you're using it as a stress relief or just something to relax you, smoke only once a day. The best thing for this step is to smoke at night, because at night you're about to go to sleep anyways, right? So you're going to be less likely to want to smoke again when you come down off that high. If you're smoking at night, it's the perfect way to only smoke once a day without having the urge to smoke again. If you smoke once a day and you do it in the morning, you might want to feel high again once that high wears off. If you're anything like me, as I was when I was a pothead, I love to wake and bake. I'm talking about roll out of bed, get the little joint that I already had kind of just in the ashtray, relight it, and smoke so I could be high. Because the thing about weed is that when it gets to a point where you like being high all the time, you're gonna take the weed with you. You won't want to be sober for a certain amount of time, or you're gonna use it every single day, right? So if you're used to waking and baking to kind of get your day started, you're gonna have to change your morning routine and exchange it with a different habit to bring you into a Zen type of mode. Either that's reading, meditation, walking, jogging, running, journaling, chess, meeting up with a friend for a coffee, whatever it is that you need to replace it with, do a healthier habit to replace it. So tea break is step 1. Step 2 is gonna be to smoke only once a day, preferably at night. Now, here is where the loophole comes in, okay? Because let's be real, smoking weed is fun. Smoking weed is lit. Smoking weed feels good until it starts to take your power away, until it feels like you're dependent on it. If you see yourself as a powerful person, feeling dependent on weed is actually showing you that you're not as powerful as you think. The thing about dependency is that you need it, you depend on it. And this is something that people who smoke weed are in denial about. Dependency is basically addiction, because you can say to yourself, yeah, I could stop smoking weed if I wanted to, I just don't want to, so I'm gonna keep smoking. That's what every pothead says. I could stop if I wanted to, I just don't want to. If you really could, then stop and see how long you can stop for. Like, any addict can say that. Any addict can say, yeah, I could stop if I wanted to. That's literally addict behavior. Not only that, you will notice that once you limit your weed use, if you take a tea break, you might have some withdrawal symptoms depending on how long you stop smoking. I don't know what those would be for you. For me, I had the wildest dreams I've ever had. This happens to a lot of people though. They have wild dreams. Honestly, I like having wild dreams, so it wasn't too bad and they go away after a while. But yeah, you'll have some withdrawal symptoms, which shows how much weed actually does affect your body, how much your body can depend on it, making it an addiction. Because after all, weed is a drug. It is, right? But yeah, let's get into step 3, which is probably the most fun step on your journey to stop smoking weed, and it's cooking with cannabis. This step, I feel, really helped me to heal my relationship with weed in general, because I combined it with something that I love, which is food. Now, when you cook with cannabis, you're gonna take some weed-infused oil or weed-infused butter, and you're going to use that in your cooking, whatever you make, so that it gives you a high. It's basically like you're making an edible. And with this step, you're going to want to stop smoking, period, and only cook with cannabis. So at this point, you're not smoking anymore. You're just basically eating edibles. Now, the caveat to this is that it might bring your tolerance up because edibles make your tolerance go crazy. But hey, you stop smoking. And it's easier to stop using weed when you're cooking with it, because it just takes more steps to be able to cook with weed. You gotta infuse butter and you gotta weigh things out and all that. It's also a good way to reduce the amount of weed that you intake, because if you're cooking with cannabis, just like I mentioned with step 2, do it at night when it's dinner time. So you're gonna put some infused oil or butter in your food, your dinner, and then you're gonna go to bed eventually, and that high is going to last. You're not gonna wanna get high again. Another delusional thing that weed smokers believe is that weed is really healthy for you. While cannabis does have some health benefits, it is not like super healthy. It has benefits for relaxation, for depression, for anxiety, but it's basically a band-aid. It's not actually curing your depression or your anxiety, and especially if you have to use it long term. That's not a cure. That is something that is a band-aid. That's a crutch. The thing about weed also when you're smoking it is that it can affect your lungs. And smoking just in general is not going to be the best thing for your body. With cooking with cannabis, you avoid the smoking altogether, right? So now you're not going to be inhaling paper or tobacco. You're only going to be using the actual weed, the plant. So now you're getting more of the benefits, and it's also more concentrated, and the chemical reaction is different when you are cooking with it than when you're smoking it. So cooking with cannabis is actually a great kind of switch to do if you want to stop smoking. If you want to keep using weed but stop smoking, start cooking with it. Again, you have to be mindful that this can make your tolerance higher, and once a day is going to be enough. when you're cooking with cannabis. Trust me. I have had nights where I made a dinner with some weed and I might not have measured how much can of butter I used, and I woke up in the middle of the night like who, what, when, where, how, and why. What is going on? Because it just knocked me out. So over time, I kind of even started skipping days of using my infused oil to cook with because I was like, that's a little bit too much. I gotta wake up tomorrow. I got stuff to do. So it's a great way to even just start skipping whole days of using weed. Also, you might even forget to use it. You might be cooking dinner and you're like, snap, I forgot to put my can of butter or infused oil in my food tonight. So whatever, right? It's just one day that you're not using weed, which is actually your goal to stop. Those are the 3 steps that I have for you to get you well on your way to stop smoking weed. It is a journey. If you have not done cold turkey stopping smoking weed, or if you just want to stop, it's actually okay to take some steps to wean you off of weed. It is the way it is for a reason. Now let's get into some woo-woo esoteric type of things, right? Because when you're a weed smoker, we like this type of stuff. We like thinking kind of outside the box. The thing about weed, right? I desired to stop smoking weed because I wanted to feel how I felt as a child, sober, and have fun and feel good and taste things that taste great and hear music that feels great. When I was smoking weed, I was so desensitized to what the real earth, the real world felt like unless I was high. I couldn't feel when I was sober as much as I wanted to. Things weren't as funny. Things didn't feel good, like touch, smell, taste. My senses were dulled. And I was like, this is a huge problem. I can only feel these intense feelings when I'm high, which means that my power is being taken away. I like having my power. I like being connected with God in that way. Weed is connected to your brain when you use it. You are dulling all of your senses. You are not being able to connect with God. Not only that, there are studies that show that weed actually shrinks your brain over time. Your gray matter decreases when you are a frequent weed user. Gray matter is the matter or the substance that makes up the brain, okay? Your brain meat shrinks when you smoke weed. That's why people be like, they forget stuff. And you might be more mellow because you have a less brain, less parts of your brain operating, less dots to connect, more docile. We don't want to be docile. Also, the thing about weed, let's think about the movie The Matrix. In The Matrix, there's a world where everything's fine. People are pretty ignorant, right? And everyone's living kind of happily in their matrix. They might feel stressed. We're eating all these crazy food that's basically a picture of the real kind of world that we live in. Now, outside of the matrix is the actual real world where things are like destructive and not so great. But when you're inside of the matrix, everything's good. And you can decide, do you want to be inside the matrix where everything's good, or you want to be in real life where everything's kind of like trash? When you are smoking weed, it is like being in the matrix with the means to live in the real world. It's being in the matrix and being aware that you're in the matrix. Now, I don't think that our real world is kind of trash like that. I think that there are a lot of trash things that you can be revealed to, but actually God has created a world for us where you can be happy, you can achieve great things, you can feel amazing. When you're smoking weed, you're aware of both of these things, but you're kind of stuck in a place where you're not able to get out of these things. So you're just aware of it, and it's going to eventually make you feel either crazy because you can't get out of it, or it's going to make you feel superior and feel like I'm better than people because I think in a certain way. Weed makes you think that you think more than other people, or that your ideas are somehow more elaborate when they're not. You have a conversation with a friend when you're high, you can have the same conversation sober. But when you're high, it's going to feel like you are Einstein talking to someone else talking to King Solomon. It's gonna make you feel like you're wise, like you're super smart. This is not the case, guys. You have to wake up. And the only kind of exception to this is when you have money. When you are rich, you have the means to kind of leave the matrix, or I'm gonna say rat race. The rat race is when you're basically like you're in a race of life that is very unfulfilling. When you have enough money, you're able to get out of the rat race, you're able to get out of the world, and so you don't have to feel crazy in it anymore, right? You have the means where it's like if you're super stressed, you can go take a flight and go somewhere. So your world looks different than if you're smoking weed and you're not in a certain tax bracket. If you're smoking weed and you don't have a lot of money, that is very dangerous. And this is my perspective. So I understand if you do not feel this way. I'm just letting you know my observations about myself when I smoked weed and other people when they smoked weed. And if you're here, you want to stop smoking weed. So don't be mad at me because I'm telling you something that might be a little triggering. You want to stop for a reason. So that's why I've created this book, 7 Simple Steps to Stop Smoking Weed. I gave you the first 3 today. The last 4 steps are what are going to get you to completely stop smoking weed. Like I mentioned, I am about 3 years sober. This is the most myself I felt in a very long time, because just throughout my journey, and part of that is because I stopped smoking weed, but also just the healing journey that I've gone on to truly heal myself, which meant that if I needed to heal, I had to meet me. I had to be me in order to heal me. I can't heal me if I'm high on weed, because I'm not me. I'm high me, who's fake healed right now because I'm high, like nothing's wrong. I had to stop smoking weed in order to heal, to feel content, to feel happy, to feel more deeply, to want to love again, to want to be motivated again, to want to build something for myself. If any of these things sound like you, I created this book with everything that I did to stop smoking weed. I'm gonna put the link in the description for you. I also have created a video on why I personally stopped smoking weed. I didn't really touch too much on that. I touched a little bit on it, but if you wanna learn, that video will be explaining why I stopped smoking weed. I made that more toward the early parts of when I quit smoking weed. So you will see kind of how my thought process was as I was turning into someone who was no longer using weed. As you can see, my skin is glowing. If this is a concern for you where you don't have glowing skin, I'm going to give you a free video that you can watch called 3 Skin Sabotaging Mistakes that are keeping you off camera, and a 10-minute daily fix. I am confident on camera because my skin has cleared up, period. I used to have acne. That is another story for another time. I've made videos about it. I talk about it often because it was a huge part of why I wanted to heal, so that I can share the healing and health knowledge, the wellness knowledge that I had. So that free video is gonna be down there for you. I also, if you want to work more closely, if you're like, I wanna skip the books, I wanna skip the video, I just wanna work with you and get straight to the point, I have a coaching application that I will link also. Y'all don't need weed to be good. You can be good all on your own. You just have to meet yourself and do these 7 simple steps. I will see you in the next video. Stay golden.